This is Kwame Alexander with Kid Lit for Black Lives. If you want to create better adults who are empathetic and more connected to their humanity, you have to nurture and develop and mold and shape beautiful children. What better way to do that than through books? Between the pages of a book are places for kids to discover who they are and who they can become. That's why children's book authors are doing sacred work. And that's why you should support Kid Lit for Black Lives in Canada. This rally will inspire and educate and inform and inspire and empower young people to imagine a better world.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Aita Sedu, and I am so happy to be here in this evening in the company of people that when I look at the portrait in front of me, I think they must be working with children, or, you know, they are illustrators and authors that are engaged in children's literature, because it looks like a picture book and a storybook of a beautiful garden filled with imaginative people. So I am very pleased to introduce this evening, #KidLit for Black Lives Canada, a rally for Black lives with Black Canadian authors, illustrators, and allies. And when the story is told, it will be said that on June 19th, the day of Juneteenth, 2020, a day where we started with the recognition, commemoration, and celebration of a day called Liberation Day and Freedom Day in America. We have come full circle back to Toronto to celebrate some of the best and the great in children's literature. Good people in the world who are watching, listening, or participating later, this group is hip. And when I say hip, I know you said hop. And they are hip because they bring hope. They bring inspiration in the words and in the beauty of their pictures. And the P in all of that, they are powerful because they are people-centered. This wonderful event, #KidLit for Black Lives Canada, is coordinated by another dynamic author. She's a game changer and a woman who just keeps on keeping on. Her name is Nadia Hohn, and she came to the world of publishing, literature, and writing at the age of, okay, I wanted to say 7 because that's the magical number, but it's really 6. And throughout those years, she honed her craft. And she was inspired that in 2016, she dropped her first book called Malika's Costume. Now, did she rest on that? No. She just kept on going. But she didn't walk the journey alone. She was intentional. She brought others along with her. And so today, she has brought this chest and this rainbow and all of that of some of the best in Canadian children's writing as authors and as illustrators. And of course, we cannot journey alone in this world. We also need allies and people who are going to extend the support as we navigate the new world that we are desirous to build. I want everybody in the whole wide world, because I know the whole wide world is looking at Canadian literature right now. And I want them to clap these authors, illustrators, and Nadia Hohn, because she also brought game in the month of Indigenous Month, in the month of International Black Music, and in the month that we celebrate Pride. So let's put our hands together and welcome Nadia Hohn. Here you go, Nadia. You Zoom, girl.
Hello. So, wow, thank you so much. And so good to be here. Thank you so much for coming to our Kid Lit for Black Lives Canada. And I'm so excited to be here. This is the first time we're holding this event. And it's an event that I promise will empower, it will heal, or at least we endeavor to do that, educate, and a call to action. So before we start, all of us, wherever we are in the world, we are on lands where people have lived before us. And I'm in Toronto, so I just want to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. And it's now the home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. So all of that to say, we're on lands and we are acknowledge that this land has belonged to or has been lived by people who came before us. So on that note, the special day of Juneteenth, we're gonna start with a song. And this song is a special one. Juneteenth is a day when African-American celebrate, acknowledge the emancipation of slavery, or actually the ending of slavery. And it is a day that Texas actually got its emancipation almost 2 years after the rest of the country. So it's a very special day. In Canada, we have a similar day. We call it Emancipation Day, and we celebrate that on August the 1st, along with countries like Jamaica and Trinidad that were former British colonies. We all celebrate freedom. So I wanted to start off with the Black National Anthem. If you know the words, you may sing along. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let us resound loud as the rolling seas. Sing a song full of the faith that the past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Thank you. All right, so this day, and we are going to start with welcoming all the young people, all the children, the young princes, princesses, the young kings and queens. And we're going to start off with a poem. And this is a poem that I said with my kindergarten class. It's called Hey Black Child. And it was written by, I did not write down the name of the person who wrote this poem. So it will come back to me. So this poem is Hey Black Child. Hey Black child, do you know who you are, who you really are? Do you know you can be what you want to be if you try to be what you can be? Hey Black child, do you know where you're going, where you're really going? Do you know you must learn if you try to learn what you try to learn, and you can learn? Hey Black child, do you know you are strong? Are you strong? I mean, really strong? Do you know you can do what you try to do, what you can do? Hey, Black child, be what you can be, learn what you must learn, do what you can do, and tomorrow your nation will be what you want it to be. Thank you. All right. So I would also like to share this poem. This is an important poem because we're talking about empowering ourselves. And although we might be very small, in Jamaica, we say, "Me little but me talawa." Talawa means you're strong, you have strength. And even though you might seem small, you have a lot of strength. So we're going to do a poem about a small woman who had a lot of strength. She was a quiet woman, but she had so much strength, and her name was Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks. Have you heard of Rosa Parks? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about Rosa Parks. One day she got on a bus and she was very tired, and she decided she's not going to move because she was sitting in a bus and she wanted to also, there was an unfair law, and she stood up for justice by sitting down and she would not be moved. So this poem is called The Rosa Parks, and you're going to be my echo. Okay, and you got to give yourself a little bit of room to do this poem. So make sure a little bit of space around you. And if you notice, I got this shirt. It says Viola. And Viola Desmond, not Viola Davis, Viola Desmond was also a famous Canadian. And like Rosa Parks, she refused to get out of a movie theater because she was sitting in a spot and she paid for. So she refused to go and sit in another area because she paid for the ticket and she wanted to get what she paid for. And it was also a fair law against Black people. So they stood up for their rights. So here we go. Be my echo. Do the Rosa Parks. Okay. So it's called The Rosa Parks, a song in rhythm by Nikki Giovanni. Do the Rosa Parks, say no, no. Do the Rosa Parks, throw your hands in the air. Do the Rosa Parks, say no, no. Do the Rosa Parks, say that's not fair. Somebody's lying. Rosa Parks, somebody's crying. Rosa Parks, shame the bad, comfort the good. Do the Rosa Parks just like she would. Sit down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stand up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sit down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do the Rosa Parks all over town. That was a lot of fun. If you like that poem, you can find it in a book called Hip Hop Speaks to Kids. It's one of my favorite books. And here's a poem that I actually wrote. And this one I call ABCs of Heroes in Our Community. And I'm going to get my claves out. Do you like that sound? It makes a sound. If you don't have any claves, you can use 2 pieces of things like maybe 2 pens or things around you, or you could clap your hands. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, Garvey, United Africans globally. H, I, J, K, L, and M, Mandela fought for women and men. N, O, P, Q, R, and S, Saro-Wiwa did protest. T, U, V, W, X, and Y, unity means U and I. Shaka Zulu stands for Z, many heroes in our community. That was a fun poem. And before I go, I want to share a song that I wrote. It's super, super easy. Do you like to sing? I hope you do. I like to sing too. So I brought my recorder and I'm going to play a little bit and you're going to sing it with me. And that song is called My Black Life Matters. And if you look, my skin is a nice, warm brown, and I identify as a Black woman. And I love my Black skin. Do you love your skin too? Well, I love it. And I like to sing because I know my life matters, okay? So this song sounds like this. My Black life matters. My Black life matters. My Black life matters right now. Does your Black Lives Matter? You think so? Are you sure? I'm sure yes, you are all very intelligent. Your Black lives all matter. So let's sing it. Your Black life matters. Your Black life matters. Your Black life matters. Right now. Now, let's see, let's do a little test here. I have two books here. These are by Canadian authors. JL Richardson, you get to meet a little bit later. And Angela Walcott. And let's see, do I have any more? Yeah, so I have those pictures. What about them? Do you think their Black lives matter? I think so. Let's sing it. Their Black life matters. Their Black life matters. Their Black life matters. Right now. I have this other book who's illustrated by my friend Vanessa Brantley Newton. Do you think her Black life matters? Yeah, of course it does. That's right. Let's sing it. Her Black life matters. Her Black life matters. Her Black life matters. Right now. Now, do you think everyone, the Black people everywhere, do you think all of their lives matter? Yes, I think so. But you got to get ready. You got to get your arms ready. You got a lot of space. Make sure you got lots of space. We're saying all Black lives matter, okay? Because there's Black people, they're everywhere, and we all matter, okay? So here we go. All Black lives matter. All Black lives matter. All Black lives matter. Let's try it again. All Black lives matter. Right now. Oh boy, I feel you. Wow, that took a lot out of me. I think it's time for our next guest, and I can't wait because this guest was named Catherine Hernandez. And Catherine Hernandez is an author, a theater practitioner, former home daycare provider, and guess what? I got a secret. Catherine Hernandez can sing. Catherine Hernandez has a beautiful voice like an angel. So I introduce to you Catherine Hernandez. Bye. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much, Nadia. Oh my goodness, I loved that. I loved your singing and I loved all of the poems. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. Now, as you can see, I'm not a Black person. I'm an Asian person, so I'm brown. I'm brown. And that means that I'm here as an ally today. And every day I try to ally and I try to do my best. Maybe there are other allies out there. But today I want to say to all of you out there, all of the Black folks, if you're a child or if you're a caregiver or a parent, I want you to know that I care about you, I acknowledge you, and I celebrate you, and I am so happy that you are here. Now, how are you? How are you today? Let's sing a song about how are you, okay? Hello, how are you today? Hello, how are you today? Hello, how are you today? How are you today? Let's turn to our neighbor and say hello. Turn to our neighbor and say hello. Turn to our neighbor and say hello. How are you today? It's nice to see you back again. It's nice to see you back again. It's nice to see you back again. Hope you're feeling fine. Now, when I say how are you, you don't have to be fine. You can actually, sometimes people feel scared, lost, lonely, afraid, angry, especially with everything that's happening. Maybe you do feel angry. All of those feelings are real. But where do you keep your feelings? You know what? It might be maybe in your arms. Maybe your arms get all tingly when you're scared. Maybe your jaw gets all tight when you're angry. You know where I get my feelings is right by my neck. So why don't you put your hand wherever it is, wherever your feelings are. Can you put your hand right there? Give it a nice deep breath in and out. Yeah, the feeling's in there, isn't it? That's real. It's not pretend. That's a real feeling, isn't it? So why don't we just say hi to the feeling? It's there. It's there. Oh, and why don't we just pretend that the feeling is like a little animal? Maybe it's a scared animal. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. We can tell the animal to come out. Oh, it's okay. It's all right. It's okay to feel scared because you know what? I do. I feel scared sometimes. So what we can say is, it's all right. You're just a feeling. You can be a feeling. We can pet it. Okay, let's put it back. Yeah, it's okay. You're safe. You're safe to be a feeling, whatever your feelings are. Now, are you ready for the next reader? Yeah. So this person is named Rama Muhammad, and they are an award-winning author who writes books featuring Black Muslim characters. Can you help me with doing ASL applause to bring in Rama Muhammad? Ready? Yay! Thank you. Bye.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. So today I wanted to share my story with you guys. You see, when I was 7 years old, I came into this country and I didn't know how to speak French or English. I felt like an outsider. When I came to this country, I was the only Black girl in my class. And oftentimes I would get bullied, I would get made fun of. And there was a lot of times that I would feel sad about that. And I wish I had someone to tell me some of the things that I write about right now. Some of the stories that I share with my children today are the things that I wish I had at that time. I remember feeling really sad. I remember feeling really like no one understood what I was going through. And perhaps maybe you're feeling like that sometimes. Even as an adult, when I think about it right now, I get sad sometimes. So I wrote a poem. And it's funny because my poem, much like when Nadia shared her poem, it's called Dear Black Child. So I want to share that poem with you today. And I hope that it brings you some comfort and it makes you feel better about who you are. So, dear Black child, the universe is vast, so take as much space as you can. Stand in your own light. Rule as an emperor or empress. Let your name be your flag. Let no one rename you without your consent. Let their tongue twist and turn until they say it right. No shortcuts allowed on this land. Proclaim your native tongue as the national anthem. Form your own band. When the world wants to erase you from their maps, remind them you do not need any recognition to be here. Taking up space demands that you speak loudly and proudly. So fill your lungs up with the mountain air and let your voice echo from every corner. Be rooted, but move as swiftly as the ocean. When you walk in and you are the only other, do not fold yourself in half hoping to go unnoticed. Rather, stand up straight and march on. Taking up space means showing up where they don't expect you. Do not fear the unknown. Rather, stand up and pave the way for others to follow. When you get tired and you want to give up, remember your ancestors. Your existence was their dreams. Your steps were their hopes. And this voice of yours was their most prized possession. Certain people will have an idea about you before they even meet you. Let them. They will soon know what you stand for and be in awe. When you don't see yourself represented in the history books, pick up your pen and tell the world your own story. When they shout, "Go back home," do not recoil. You are already home within. Certain places will always welcome you. Certain peoples will open their borders and their hearts to you, make you feel safe and loved. These are your charging stations, your refuge when you feel lost at sea. Gather your strength and get back out there. Take up space. You are worthy. You are enough. You belong. This space was created for you. You are a walking nation. You are a monument and a statement piece all in one. Thank you. So up next, we have children favorite best-selling and award-winning Loving Me series by author Angelou Ndogmo. So let's welcome her and she'll take it away. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. I am children's author Angelou Ndogmo, and I brought along my favorite friends today. This is Tasia from Loving Me, and this is Tajmo from Boy, I Am Loving Me. And we couldn't wait to be here today to share with you guys at home the special word of the day. What's that, Tajmo? Tajmo has a great idea. We're going to yell it out on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Melanin! Melanin! Oh no. Oh no, Tasia, Tajmo. Some of our friends at home don't know what melanin means. And I know you guys do such a great job of introducing the word in the books, but what are we gonna do? What's that, Tasia? Oh, Tasia's got a great idea. We're just gonna explain it. Well, melanin has 3 syllables. Melanin. Melanin. And melanin is kind of like a superhero. Da, 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 da. That's right. And it uses its superpowers to give us all of our beautiful different hair colors and all of our amazing different eye colors. Oh my goodness, I see so many out there. And guess what? Melanin also uses its superpowers to give us all of our beautiful different skin colors too. And you know what? Our superhero melanin also does all these cool things in our bodies. So I thought, since our superhero melanin does so much for us, we could do a little rhyme to celebrate our superhero melanin. You ready, guys? Okay, ready at home? We're just gonna clap our hands. Here we go. Melanin is a really good friend who likes to hang out in my hair, eyes, and skin. Melanin loves me all sorts of ways and even protects me from the sun's harmful rays. So whether I have a little or whether I have a lot, I was born unique on purpose and I love what I've got. That was so much fun. Good job. Give yourselves a round of applause. You know, every single day, it's important to look in the mirror and notice all of the things that make us special and unique. Now, melanin is definitely something that helps to make us special and unique, right? But earlier today, Tasia and Tajmo did a little arts and crafts project for us. Oh yeah, they did an amazing egg decoration. They were supposed to make their egg very special and unique. Look at Tajmo's egg. He did a Mr. Googly Eyes. And look at Tasia's egg. Tasia did a beautiful butterfly egg. They don't look alike, do they? Not at all. I know. I'm gonna mix them up. And you guys are gonna guess whose egg belongs to who. Whose egg is this? Is it Tasia's? Oh, that's right. It's Tajmo's egg. You guys are really good. I'm gonna make it a little trickier. Watch this. Now can you tell which egg belongs to who? Can't tell. It's a little tricky, huh? Well, what if I mix them up? Hold on, let me mix them up. Did that make it easier? Not really, right? Because before, they had all of their unique packages, right? That made them special and unique. And now, underneath, they're all the same. Kind of like in human beings too, right? You know, every single day that we notice all of these amazing and cool things about ourselves on the outside, it's always important to remember that underneath on the inside, we're all the same. I am different from my head to my toes. I am different from my eyes to my nose. I come from a place that's far and wide, a place where we smile instead of cry. I am different from my hair to my teeth. I am different from my skin to my knees, but I come from a place that's far and wide, a place where we smile instead of cry. I am different, as you can see, but I've got lots of love for you and me. Yay! So you see, you guys, we're all different and special on the outside, but on the inside, we're all the same. Well, guys, it's about that time. I'm gonna play the Loving Me song. And guess what? We're gonna do the actions together really quick. And then we're gonna have to say goodbye. Here we go. So many things. Come on, you can do it at home. I love about me. I can draw nice pictures. We can hide them free. Say my prayers. Or sing with glee. There are so many things I love about me. Voice turn, let's do it all together. So many things I love about me. I can run as fast. Run, guys, come on. As the strongest breed, I can even climb the highest tree. There are so many things I love about me. Good job, you guys. Thank you so much. Well, it's about that time to say goodbye, but that's okay. We'll see each other again soon. And you know what? Up next, we have Leroy Newpoles, and he is a parent, an educator, a community organizer, and a co-founding director of Freedom School in Toronto. Pretty cool, huh? Bye.
Hi, everyone. I love you. I miss you, my beautiful Black kids. And I want to wish you a happy Juneteenth. I want to wish you a happy Juneteenth because today is the day that we fought for freedom. And lots of us still have to fight for freedom because that all Black Lives Matter, we mean Black people who are queer, who are transgender, who are poor, who are Muslim, who are Black women, all Black Lives Matter. And today there's some Black people that are still not free. So we have to be the ones to try to make change. So today I actually wanted to tell you about two Black kids. And both those Black kids are very powerful freedom fighters. One of them is Trinity Xavier Sky Neal, and she is a transgender child from Delaware in the United States. When Trinity was born, the doctors gendered her as a boy. But by the time she was only 3 or 4, Trinity decided to live as a girl. And between the ages of 9 and 12, Trinity became the first transgender child to have Medicaid cover all aspects of her gender. Changed the world for transgender kids by insisting that other kids get access to proper health care. Trinity Xavier Sky Neal is a shiro for transgender kids and for transgender people all around the world. So I'm going to tell you about one other very special freedom fighter who is a transgender child in Canada. She is 12 years old and she's from British Columbia, and she fought back against transphobia. So transphobia could be when people do not treat transgender people properly. And at her school, she won a case in court, and she fought to make sure that kids in her school could be recognized for being any gender that they want. So for any Black kids who are transgender, I want to affirm you. I say that I love you and say that you all deserve the chance to live as whoever you are. Okay. So I'm gonna pass the mic. We are gonna welcome Creative Interlude, who is partnering to utilize the arts to inspire the next generation today. Carrie is an artist and illustrator, and Osajifo is an educator, social worker, and community organizer.
The memory of water is coming up for air. Tell every son and daughter to handle it with care. Black voices matter to enable all children and all learners to know their true greatness, helping them to freely under the sun, sustaining access, share our existence. It is key to have authors that speak your language, stand for a cause and stand tall with their peers, with their pencils, their pens, their crayons, or laptop to keep writing and never stop uniting. Producing, birthing, sharing our 100 new books as we become reassured and reliable resources that shine brighter than gold, that shine with our intricacies, and each page turn opens more doors. The presentation retells our epoch in song, recognizes that we have been here all along, reascends us in our orality to our totality, providing new narratives that aid our children to be supported from birth to when they can fly. Tales that lets them remember all that they are and leave them more juice and imagination to become more than we could have ever imagined them to be. Black literature matters. Black voices matter. From each book to each page turned, we are making progress to realize our legacy. It goes further into action.
Black lives matter because we are the indigenous ones. We are the essence of humanity. Just like the seed, the blackness of the fertile soil, we are essential to the planet Earth. We reflect the seeding, sprouting, and flourishing of creation, and most importantly, the resiliency of life.
Thank you. Black Kid Lit, educating children, empowering the future. And next to share, we have Ishta Mercure Eo and Salah, the award-winning creators of Small World. Stay blessed.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you, Osagyefo and Kari. Thank you for that beautiful song and for that wonderful introduction. I want to talk from my perspective. We've heard from a lot of people tonight, haven't we? And we're all talking to you kids right now. And each person who's spoken has had a different perspective. And so I want to talk to the kids who are biracial, like me, because that's what I am. I'm biracial. And maybe biracial is a word that you haven't heard before. So being biracial means that your parents come from two different ethnic backgrounds. So for me, being biracial means that my father is white and my mother is from the Philippines. And so I am both of those things. I'm biracial. And there's more than one way to be biracial. You might have one parent who's Black and one parent who's from India, or you might have one parent who is Japanese and one parent who is from Brazil. So there is not just one way to be biracial. There are many, many ways to be biracial. And some kids are biracial because they have one parent who is white and one parent who is from some other ethnic background that's not white. And later, I'm going to talk especially to those kids, but right now I want to talk to all biracial children because I want to share something with you, which is that sometimes, and this might have happened to you already, but sometimes being biracial is hard. And it's hard because there will be people in your life, maybe a teacher or maybe a friend from school, or maybe even one of your cousins, or maybe a neighbor who can't understand that being biracial means you're both things. There might be people who try to convince you that you feel like more one thing than the other, or there might be people who just can't see that you're biracial. They assume that you're one thing. And when you tell them, no, I have one white parent and one parent from Mexico, they'll say, really? You don't look like it. And that can hurt, right? It can hurt because they're overlooking an important piece of who you are. And so because it hurts, sometimes it's easier to just go along with what they said and to just forget about that other part of you that your friends overlooked and didn't see. Sometimes because it hurts, because you love them and they love you back, it's easier not to remind you that there's a piece of you that they missed. But it's important that you not do that. It's important that you remind them, because when we let people erase or ignore important parts of ourselves, important parts of who they are, especially if you're biracial with one white parent and one parent who's not white, and the part they're overlooking is the part that's not white. If they're mistaking you for a white person, it's important not to let them do that. It's important to say, but I'm biracial. Because when we let people ignore the part of us that's not white, or any part of us at all, but especially the part that's not white, if you have one white parent and one not white parent, when we let them ignore that part, that contributes to the idea that some people have that being white is better. And that's racism. And we can't have that. We can't allow that to continue. We can't allow people to think that way. And you are beautiful in all of who you are. And so we're going to practice saying it together, okay? We're going to practice. I'll say it, and then you repeat after me. I am a biracial person. And I'm proud of that. Good. Good job. That was great. So you practice saying that, okay? You practice saying that when people mistake you for one side of who you are or the other side of who you are. You practice telling them that you're both and that you're proud of being both. Okay, now I want to talk to the kids who are biracial in the way that I'm biracial, where you have one white parent and one parent who's not white. And people mistake me for a white person a lot of the time. And so I want to talk to other kids who get mistaken for white people when you're actually a biracial person. And this is important because when that happens, you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to practice allyship. Do you know what allyship means? Allyship means that you are being an ally to, you are being a helper to people who are different from you. And so if you're biracial, but white people look at you and mistake you for a white person, sometimes they say racist things in front of you. And not just white people. For example, I said that my mom is from the Philippines. And some of the people that I know who are also from the Philippines have said racist things, because there is racism in Filipino culture too. There's racism in many cultures. And so when people mistake you for something that you're not, and they think that they're with people who think the way they are and they have racist thoughts, you have an opportunity to be an ally to people who are Black or brown or whatever it is that the people are saying racist thoughts about. And when you have someone near you who is saying something racist because they think that you look like them and therefore you must think like them, it's important that you speak up. It's important that you say something, okay? And it's hard. It's hard to speak up because if you've never spoken up before, it can feel scary to contradict someone that you care about, like your neighbor or your aunt or your grandpa or your friend, or even sometimes your teacher. But it's important that you do it. It's important to say something like, excuse me, but that's wrong. And it's hurtful to say things like that. Or you can say, excuse me, but that doesn't sound nice. And I don't think you should say those things. Okay? And the more you practice, the more often you speak up, the easier it gets. So that's your job, okay? And if we all work together, we can make a better world, because you are strong and you are beautiful and you are capable of doing this. And now I'm going to pass the mic to Salah Robinson, who is a senior storyboard artist from Jane and Finch, and who is currently working at Netflix Animation. Salah?
Hi, Ishta. Thank you so much. That was very important, by the way. I appreciate what you just brought up there. I know a lot of interracial friends and family members. Ishta introduced me. My name is Salah Robinson. It's my wife, Claudia, the Robinsons. Let me tell you a little story about me and where I come from. So it all starts in church. I grew up in an Ethiopian Orthodox church, which is like one of the oldest churches. And when I grew up, my parents told me, being Black was very important, very special, and very unique. We were kind of top of the food chain in my parents' opinion. And so when I used to look around the church, I'd see a lot of pictures of Black saints, and my father would introduce me to a lot of Black kings and emperors. And so growing up for me, it was, you know, the greatest thing in the world to be Black. They also told me when I'm outside to be in the world, but not so of the world. Try to be careful when you're out there, not to mingle too much with people, keep your faith and stay strong and stay focused on the task ahead. And so in my community, I grew up in Jane and Finch. It's a beautiful community, very multicultural, a lot of beautiful faces, but it's got its notorious side as well. I was the only dreadlocks kid growing up, the only youth with locks. So back then there was not a lot of dreadlocks. So I really felt separate being in that world. As I grew up, I then found my skill in art, and I fell in love with the art form and animation and cartooning. And I was blessed to the opportunity to go to an art college. When I got to the art college, I was still set apart because I was the only Black kid there. So that meant I had to push myself a little bit further, work a little harder, just be better for some reason. Something in my gut told me to live up to all that ancestry I was taught about. After that, I went into my career. I became an animator, a storyboard artist. I worked on a lot of shows like, I don't know if you guys know Barbie. Of course, you guys know Barbie. Do you guys know Thomas the Tank Engine? Yeah, you guys know Thomas the Tank Engine. And a bunch of other stuff. And again, though, I'm sitting in meetings with a lot of colleagues and friends, and I'm the only Black kid again, and I'm a Black man at that point. So still feeling separate from what was going on in my environment, but I still kept it in my heart that this is a value that I'm carrying on my body. And so as I started a family, I met my gorgeous wife. She's very creative, a designer as well, an artist. And we started having our kids. We're up to 5 now, 5 kids right now. I want to impart that same knowledge of strength and even separation in a sense for my kids. And so a big important thing was to show them where we came from and show them their roots and show them their strengths and their abilities and to foster those talents and those skills to show themselves in a world that might not always be kind to them, and that maybe through their skills and their talents that they would be able to find a lane for themselves. And it was very important for me, so I want to impart that onto them. So then I was in the world, but not of the world, but it seemed like I was starting to create my own world. I had my wife, my family, and our little bubble of our own world, and I wanted to grow that. And so I just retraced my steps. I went back to my community first because I never really left it. And I started working in the community and working in the schools, making friends and helping other people to see what I saw and create lanes for a career in the arts. I also, we started doing workshops in the schools. We were teaching art in classes and crafts, and my wife does cake decorating, so we were doing that as well, which was very fun. I also went back to my church and started helping encouraging the youth there and showing them art skills and how to, you know, show their faith through their artwork, my wife. As I'm drawing all these heroes and characters for the companies, there wasn't a lot that looked like me. And so I really wanted to bring that back to the forefront and show people themselves. And so since I started in the church, I went back to the church and I illustrated a drawing of Jesus, my wife showing a lot of the artwork, how I saw him from all the iconography and the artwork in the church from the Ethiopian culture. And so that was the true Jesus to me. So I just started characterizing this and wanting to encourage kids to see themselves in their heroes. Jesus is my hero. And see themselves, you know, as strong, as powerful as kings and queens, and to embody that and to enjoy that. And so basically that's pretty much what I've been up to, and trying to push my love agenda on my community and through my art and through my friends and family. So I encourage everybody to do what you do and do it the best you can, and know that use anything that people call maybe as a shortcoming or how they look at it as a difficulty, use it as your strength and your power, and charge forward with it and make it look really good. Bless up. Bless everybody. Oh, sorry, that's right. So next up, my brethren, Nigel. Bless you, brother. Nigel Reef is a community organizer and an elementary teacher and the chair of the Urban Alliance on Race Relations, trying to make the world a better place for all. Oh, what a blessed man. Bless you, Nigel.
Do you still? Yes. Okay, so I am so grateful to the Robinsons and their wonderful work that they continue to do up in Jane and Finch. You know, it's so wonderful because here's the moments that we get to see what's truly happening on the ground, the beautiful work that's being done, the outreach that's being done, you know, and it's unfortunate that that's not what's reported in the media, if you know what I mean. So as you heard, I'm a school teacher. I actually teach at the Toronto District School Board here in Toronto. We are the largest school board in Canada. And you know what, I really just want to make sure that parents and you, our children, understand that even though you're getting your report card next week, you know, what's most important is that you know that you're going to be okay. And when you get back if we get back in September, you know, it's still a question mark, but when we get back and we'll see each other again, we're going to make sure that you're okay. I've talked to many of my teacher colleagues, and all of us, we know that that we're going to just love you and we're going to open arms, and we just can't wait to see you again. So just keep taking care of yourself. Come join us in our protests with Black Lives Matter and another Black life. Right. So I'm the middle of being transitioning from our primary students and parents to our intermediates. So yeah, my intermediate folks, I do have a little message for you too. And this is another song by Robert Nesta Marley, and it's called Redemption Song. And there's a specific line that I'm gonna want you to take away. Let's put it that way. And it's because one of the lines in the song, you'll hear it, but he says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery because none but ourselves can free our minds. And Robert Nesta Marley actually took that line from a speech that was given by Marcus Garvey, which is another hero from Jamaica. And Marcus Garvey actually said that speech in those lines here in Canada, Nova Scotia. Can you believe it? Way back in 1937. All right. So for those of you, your parents might know this song. So if they do, you can listen to them sing. All right. Oh, pirates, yes, they robbed I, sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, but my head was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Now won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? Is all I ever had. Redemption songs, redemption songs. Here it is. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop at the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Ooh, some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. Now won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? is all I've ever had. Redemption songs. So, yeah, my youths, we, none but ourselves can free our minds, and we need to do our best to work to gain the knowledge and the skills that we're going to need to fight against racism, to fight against homophobia, to fight against misogyny, and that we can create a world that's much better, much more fair, much more just for all of us, for everyone. And you and I, we fellow teachers, we're all going to do that together. All right. Anyway, one love. I'm so blessed, so grateful. Nadia, thank you for hooking me up and let me be part of it. So I get to introduce Sarah Rowley, is a Nigerian Canadian scholar in critical race studies and an author of the young adult fantasy series called The Effigies. Her next series, The Bones of Ruin, will be published by Simon & Schuster next year in June 21. So love y'all. Woo! Peace.
Okay. Hey guys, can y'all see me? Can y'all hear me? All right. So what I want to do, first of all, thank you, Nigel, for that introduction. What I want to do, first of all, is introduce myself a little bit. I'm Sarah Rowley, just like Nigel said. I'm a Nigerian Canadian, and I write young adult literature. So first thing I want to do today is I want to dedicate today to Breonna Taylor, the Chibok girls of Nigeria, and every other Black girl still struggling for justice, still struggling for freedom. And that's really important. And that's why today I really want to talk about Black girl magic. I have two trains of thoughts about Black girl magic, right? The first thing you need to know about Black girl magic is that all Black girls have it, period. You don't have to think about how you're going to get it. You don't have to work hard to figure out, where you're going to go to try and find it. You have it. It's in you. Cis, trans, gay, straight, doesn't matter. All right. But here's the other thing. This is the other side of the coin. Unfortunately, we live in a society, right? We live in a society and a world that doesn't see our magic. And that's the real shame, right? We live in a world that doesn't really appreciate us.
Speak.
And Nigel, I can still hear you. Mute, child, mute. Okay. Anyway, yes, I'm going to speak. I'm going to speak on it because it's true. We live in a world that doesn't really see our magic. And we live in a world where people want to beat us down. And I'm not just talking about mainstream society. I'm talking about sometimes other people of color. I'm talking about sometimes even other Black people. So that's why I want to talk to Black girls specifically. And I want to say this because I think it's really important and it's something that I had to learn. Okay. So the first point I want to make about Black girl magic is, and this is especially for women, don't apologize for anything. Learn to stop apologizing. I'm still doing this, but learn to stop apologizing. Don't apologize for working hard. Don't apologize for being intelligent. Don't apologize for being successful, for having dreams. Lord knows we have to work twice as hard to get half as much. So do not apologize. Don't apologize for promoting yourself either. I'm out here on Twitter every day, like, read the Effigy series. I'm tweeting people, y'all know about the Effigy series? It's okay. Promote yourself. You worked hard for it. Fight for yourself and don't apologize for it. Okay. And just, by the way, to the Robinsons, if you guys are interested in an animated series on the Effigies, an adaptation starring some Black girls, hey, call me up. Don't apologize. Don't apologize for fighting for yourself. Don't apologize for your tone. okay? Because there's a lot of people that say we have to be happy, polite, all the time, accommodating, all the time. You guys know that respectability politics. And if you aren't happy, if you aren't nice, if you aren't speaking softly, then people say, oh, you're an angry Black girl. You're an angry Black girl, right? And they use that against you. They use that to tear you down. So I'm saying, don't apologize for your tone. And you know what? If you're angry, then you have the right to be angry. All right? There's a lot to be angry about. So if you want to be angry. Okay? And if you want to be joyful, right? You don't have to be happy and polite all the time, but feeling joy is important, right? Joy is resistance. So don't worry about if you're feeling happy, you're feeling good, even in the midst of all this stuff happening, coronavirus and the protests. If there's a moment where you can grab onto happiness, then do it. All right? Don't apologize for needing time to yourself, because sometimes we need to do that. We need to self-care. And don't apologize for deciding where, when, and how you're going to spend your time, spend your emotions, and spend your labor. A lot of people expect a lot of things from us, right? And oftentimes, especially for us Black women, we're told that we have to put other people ahead of ourselves, right? We have to think of ourselves last. I don't agree with that. So don't let anybody gaslight you into thinking that you come last, that all these other people are more important than you. Don't do that. If you want to fight for someone, fight. If you don't want to fight for somebody, don't fight. That's up to you. All right? And I want to talk a little bit about books in relation to Black Girl Magic. Because in my opinion, and as we've seen throughout this entire event, books can be a weapon for Black Girl Magic and against Black Girl Magic. Now, what do I mean by that? So in terms of books being against Black Girl Magic, I'll talk a little bit about my experience, okay? I am a young adult writer. I read a lot of young adult literature. But when I grew up, I read so many books by white people, so many books about white people, that I couldn't imagine myself as a heroine. I couldn't imagine myself as a main character. I didn't even write a main character that was Black until I was 15 years old. And I've been writing my whole life, right? Books teach us. It's pedagogy. Pedagogy means education. Books are education. They teach us things about our place in the world and how we fit. But that's how books can be an enemy to Black Girl Magic. Because if these books are teaching you that you're just a sidekick, or you're, an angry Black girl, or you're not worthy of love, or you can't be a heroine, sometimes we internalize that. And that's dangerous. But that's where we come in. And I hope that you get something out of this event. Because a lot of us were writing books for Black people to put forward Black voices and to prioritize Black voices. So when you read books and support authors that are writing Black Girl Magic, that are writing Black Katniss Everdeen's and Clary Frey's, Black, Percy Jackson's, and even Black Bella Swan's, you're supporting a vision that says we matter. We're out here and we matter. All right? So I want you guys to remember that every single time you go into the bookstore, you recommend a book, for your friends, or if you want to write yourself, because I started writing when I was a kid, and I knew when I was a teenager that I wanted to do something with this talent. I wanted to write my own books. So remember, your voice matters. Black girls matter. And don't let anybody dull your shine for anything, ever. Okay? And that's all I have to say about that. That's on period. Can I get an amen? I know y'all are muted, but I need to hear an amen. It's okay. I want to hear an amen from somebody. Okay, amen.
Amen.
Hey, hey.
Amen.
Yes. All right. So I have the pleasure and the honor of introducing our next speaker. All right. This is a friend of mine, a mentor. So now here's New York Times best-selling and award-winning author, S.K. Ali. Take it away, girl.
Can you see me? Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Sarah. That was so inspirational. I'm going to be sharing thoughts as an ally. Everyone in this world is born precious, yet something happens along the way in our lives that teach us that some are more precious than others. The some should get more respect and dignity. I'm here because I want a world that reverses this, that's the opposite of this reality. A world where Black lives matter. But to get to that kind of a world, it's apparent we must work, that we won't just naturally move along to becoming this way. There seems to be too much resistance to such a beautiful world. And for work, I'm talking to allies now. If we're actually allies, we have to work harder than everyone else, to educate ourselves, to unpack our own biases, to learn about systemic and structural racism and our parts in upholding it. And then we need to use a superpower we all have called confronting racism. I call it a superpower because not all of us can wield it. It's hard. Because that's something that tells us that some lives matter more, that some lives are more precious. That something is structures of our society and communities. It's years of systemic racism. Confronting our own societies and structures is hard. Our societies tell us who is important, who should get to be seen and treated with human complexity, and who shouldn't. Who gets criminalized and viewed without nuance, from the books in our classrooms to shows on TV, movies on screens, from the news that shows the sympathetic stories of some people, even white supremacist mass murderers, while dehumanizing others, including victims. This is why we keep saying Black lives matter. For too long, we've seen it doesn't. I'm here talking about this partly because I'm a Muslim, and there are two teachings from my faith that compels me to act. The first is that we all like one body, and when one part feels pain, the whole body experiences it. We can't look away from that pain. We are all bound up in each other's struggles, the same way a deep injury on our body affects our entire self and compels us to seek relief for it, to heal it completely. The second teaching of my faith is that when you see a wrong, you must act to change it. If you can't do that, you must speak, use your words to change it. And if you can't even do that, you must hate the wrong in your heart, and that is the weakest of faith. Acting on injustice requires fearlessness. It requires bravery. It means shedding the holds on our brains that caution us with the consequences of acting. When I look back on my youth, when I think back on all the moments I confronted anti-Blackness head on, I know that it made an impact. It changed behavior, so much so that it was at that moment that self-examination started, leading to a complete shift in those I confronted. But all those moments when I tried to do something and I didn't go on because it was going to be uncomfortable or involve too much confrontation, that it was going to affect me too much, those are the moments I look back in shame. Those moments let racism thrive. To speak up and confront requires us to turn off the selfish parts of our souls. The part that says, but what will happen to me if I stand up? Quelling this voice is one of the greatest superpowers in the world. That's what it means to confront racism. And because my Muslim background believes that young people are close to fitra, the pure state of being that is closest to truth, as young people, you wield the superpower the most. Confronting racism requires interrogating our own thinking first. For allies in many communities, it asks us to think about everything we've heard about colorism, about what is beautiful, about being model minorities, which is a myth perpetuated to keep white supremacy alive by giving us adjacency to it. No more. This intersection of time and events when there's a global movement bearing witness to the fact that Black lives haven't mattered, we must all rise to the challenge of confronting anti-Black racism in every part of our lives. We'll wield our superpower. We'll confront racism everywhere life takes us, from this moment until the end of our days. Thank you. Now I would like to introduce my colleague and fellow author, Melanie Florence, award-winning author of Stolen Words and Just Lucky.
Thank you so much, Sajida. It's an absolute honor to be part of this amazing event. I'd like to start by talking directly to the Black teens watching this. Please know that I hear you. I stand with you. Your lives matter. And know that you are so loved and valued by myself and all of the creators here tonight. Now to the white teens watching. It's time to be an ally. Listen and learn. Use your privilege to take on some of the burden because you are privileged. You're privileged to not be afraid of being pulled over by the police like Philando Castile, or of going for a run like Ahmaud Arbery, or of wearing a hoodie like Trayvon Martin, or of sleeping in your own bed like Breonna Taylor. And this is not a new battle, but thanks to technology and social media, we now clearly see the horrifying truth. We see what Black people have been telling us about and writing about and singing about and fighting against for years. We can no longer deny the absolute depth of racism in this country and in countries around the world, because we've seen it now with our own eyes. We've watched the senseless murder of George Floyd and Tamir Rice and Rayshard Brooks on our phones and computers. And we can't pretend not to see what's happening around us anymore. Like me, you've probably realized that for every video and every act of senseless violence, we see how many people have lost their lives while body cams were turned off or without a witness with a cell phone to record it. And you've probably realized that for every name we know that belongs to a Black person who has fallen victim to corrupt police officers or racist vigilantes, how many victims must there be who didn't make the news or social media? We know there must be hundreds, thousands even. With that knowledge comes responsibility. We can no longer put that responsibility solely on Black people. They have been alone in this fight for too long, and it is time for us to step up, to act, and to be allies. But being an ally means taking a step back and letting the attention be centered on the voices of Black people. Being an ally means amplifying their voices and sharing their messages and not our own. Now is not the time to insert ourselves into a conversation we can never fully understand and which is very much not about us. The Black Lives Matter movement is not ours, and we have to respect that. We can and should stand in solidarity and show our outrage and be allies, but we cannot and should not take away from the voices that Black Lives Matter belongs to. It's not enough to share hashtags or post a black square on Instagram. It's not even enough to ask questions. It's time for us to really do the work. Read about Black history, go beyond what you're taught in school. Read books by Black authors and learn from them. Watch films by Black filmmakers. If you have Netflix, watch When They See Us Now. Learn and share what you've learned. We have to make sure we do everything we can to amplify Black voices and to support this fight against racism together. A great place to start is a book called Stamped, Racism, Anti-Racism and You by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi. And while you're at it, watch Ibram X. Kendi's TED Talk on the difference between being not racist and anti-racist. Read books like The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas and All American Boys by Jason Reynolds and Brendan Kiley, and How It Went Down by Kekla Magoon, and Dear Martin by Nick Stone, and read books by Black Canadian authors like Nadia Hohn and Shante Grant and Christopher Paul Curtis and Kahiso Liceo Malope and Jael Richardson and Zetta Elliott. We have a responsibility to listen and to educate ourselves. We can do better. We will do better. And now it's my honor to welcome Calvin Naiosi Mawazo, who is an author, an illustrator, and owner of Black Sun Comics, a publishing company that creates African-centered science fiction and fantasy.
Okay, I think this is working. Okay, awesome. Thanks for the introduction, Melanie. That was great. Well said. Yeah, so I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy to get the chance to speak with all of you. Again, my name is Calvin Mawazo, and to talk about empowerment. I'll start off by reading a dictionary definition here. Stronger and more confident in controlling one's life and claiming one's right? So that's powerful stuff. Now, the reason why I find that so important is because, oh, sorry, I'm getting a message that I'm a bit staticky. Are people hearing me? Could someone just leave a note? Can you hear me? Okay. You need me to repeat anything? Okay. I'm not saying anything, so I'm going to assume that it's okay. So on to empowerment. So the reason why that is so important for us as people of African descent, Black people, AKA Black folks, is because society at large, the dominant society, will often have predetermined roles for us, especially Black males. I'm not saying that the Black women don't get it, but for Black males, it's a bit different. So often those roles mean you're going to be some sort of entertainer, you're playing sports or you're rapping or singing or, you're entertaining. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that in and of itself, but when that's the only option, then it becomes really problematic. And then the other side of that is the predefined role of you being in jail or, God forbid, dead. And for the high school students that I'm speaking to now, I think you're at an age where you can kind of see those societal pressures coming in on you. People might suggest that, you should be a basketball player or whatever. Now, if you walk through the world with an empowerment mindset, then you can decide for yourself that no, you're not going to fall into the status quo, and that you can decide for yourself what it is that you want to be. And this kind of ties into my story. 20 years ago, when I wanted to do my comic book, people literally laughed in my face, right? They said, you can't do it, it'll never work. And now, I have access to social media and I've empowered myself to do exactly what it is that I want, despite what people have told me. So empowerment is very important in that sense. You can decide for yourself what it is that you want to be. You can be an electrician, you can be a computer programmer, you can be a lawyer, you can be a car mechanic, some sort of trade that will keep you paid for the rest of your life. And the Black girls out there too. Don't let society tell you what you have to be. I'll leave you with Zetta Elliott, the author of a book called Her Name. Thanks, and I'll talk to everyone later. Peace.
Good evening. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. When Nadia invited me to join this rally, I wasn't sure I really belonged because I am Canadian, but I left Canada when I was 21. And I have lived in the United States for over 25 years. But then I thought about my teen years in Toronto, and you know what? They were hard. So I'm talking to the young people out there tonight who might also be struggling. I have lived with anxiety and depression for most of my life. And I actually started having symptoms when I was a teenager. But I didn't know then why I was sleeping so much and why I kept cutting my classes and why I didn't want to hang out with my friends. And then when I was an adult, I actually found out that depression and anxiety runs in my family. So I found a therapist and I found a bunch of friends who helped me learn how to manage my mental health. And the most important thing was I stopped being ashamed of myself for having a hard time coping with everything that was going on around me. And I'll be honest, lately I have been having a hard time coping because there has been a lot going on in the world. First, we had the pandemic, and then we had the protests. And you know what? It really hurts to turn on the TV and see footage of Black men being murdered. And it also hurts to know that the killing of Black women and our trans brothers and sisters just doesn't get as much outrage or even media attention. And I actually wrote a book about that. It's called Say Her Name. And I am going to read a poem for you right now, which is called Self-Care. And I chose this poem out of the 49 poems because it reflects how I have good days and I have not so good days. Self-care. Some days it's okay to eat cupcakes instead of kale, to pull on stretchy pants and a hoodie, curl up on the sofa and watch online videos of baby goats prancing in pajamas. It's okay to curl into your pillow when there's no one else to hold and let your tears soak the foam. Then order a large 3-topping pizza and finish that pint of coffee toffee bar crunch without anybody's help. Other days, you can go for a long run, hit the gym, or walk in the park, find a body of water, take deep lungfuls of fresh air, see a matinee by yourself, put on your cute clothes, take a selfie, have a salad with your slice, doodle in your journal, pet a dog you don't own, see the beauty in small things, see the beauty in yourself, even as you don your armor to make it through another day. Now, poet and activist Audre Lorde once wrote that caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. I want you to know that if you feel like you have to get up and fight every day just to be seen, just to be heard, just to be respected, that you are not alone, and that you need to take care of yourself. Step off the battlefield. Love yourself. Ask for help when you need it. Surround yourself with people who love you just as you are. Black lives matter. Our stories matter. Our voices matter. And you know what? Black lives matter at school too. That's a movement founded by radical teachers here in the US, and I hope it also crosses the border and creates change in Canada. If you're a Black student who's been told you have a bad attitude, I know how you feel. If you have been left out of the gifted and talented program, I know how you feel. If you have to go to class day after day and you never get to read a book by a Black author about a reality that mirrors your own, I know how you feel. It's wrong, and it's got to change. When I was a teenager, I wanted to become a writer, but I didn't think that future was possible for me in Canada, and that's why I left. But Canadian writer Dion Brand reminds us that we come from people who know how to make a way out of no way. And I hope you know that you will find a way to make your future come true. Writing poetry has helped me a lot over the past few weeks. And there's a great poet, her name is Jane Cortez. She has a poem, Find Your Own Voice and Use It. Use your own voice and find it. I developed a writing workbook for teens. It's called Find Your Voice, a guide to self-expression. If you feel like you want to find your voice, I am happy to send you the PDF of the workbook. Just go to my website, zettaelliott.com, send me your email address, and I'll get that to you as soon as I can. So in closing, I just want to say, please take care of yourself, find your people, find your voice, and testify. Up next, Janice Lynn Mather, author of Learning to Breathe and the upcoming release, Facing the Sun.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. I'm going to share a poem that I've written, and then after a short meditation, 1-minute meditation. Muscle recollect. Your body hunches at the news, shoulders lift like a prayer plant's leaves, like wings called to the haven of a tree. For you or me, and I have gone before, and the body recalls. The phone lies on the bed, screen crying for attention, but you cannot turn your head to see the move from living soul and flesh to blood and limp body, from is to was. For the body, your body, is his, is mine, and so it knows. Her father lay, comma curled on the floor, a pause as life ran from his mouth. Flood rain, seek Kingston home on English earth. At the clinic, tears choked her breath. The doctor knew her name, but said, "What is it then, Topsy? Is he coughing up spots of blood?" And to this day, she will not part a child's hair in more than 3. For her hands told that memory. Fingers won't weave that way. Daddy was not a year younger than Emmett Till, himself a whistle, breath, a contract signature pen stroke, a loyalist boat's breadth away from the bottom of a riverbed. So when Faith toted him from his small island back across the sea to that wooded revival tent in Old Texas, his body stenched at the fountain marked for him, for us. Stubborn spine dare not bend, no matter how his dry throat beg. Your neck twists, face a flower too tired for sun heat, petals pleading a beat, a breath, before you look and heft this too onto your back. Straighten your knowing bones. Move forward once again. And now for the short meditation. Please join me. If you can, to begin, close your eyes. Take a deep, slow breath in. And as you exhale, feel your shoulders relax down. Deep inhale. And as you exhale, feel any tension in your forehead, your jaw, around your mouth, relax. Deep breath in. Exhale. Feeling your body relax. Bring your hands up to your chest, one on top of the other, and feel the rise and fall of your breath. Perfect. Powerful. Centered. Slow. You are valued. You are wanted. You are loved. Take another deep breath in. And as you exhale, slowly open your eyes. Thank you for being here. Next up, we have Sean Morissette, a multi-award winning artist, motivational speaker, and author of the children's book entitled A Name Just for You.
All right. If you guys could hear me, I'm just trying to chime in, but it's not allowing me. Can you guys hear me? Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you, Sean.
You can hear me. Okay, so I'm getting a message that says it's unable to. Okay, let me see. Start my video. Let's see if it could work. Hey, yes, you guys can see me. Hallelujah. All right. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to try my best to keep it short and sweet. So I do a lot of different things. The book, A Name Just for You, written trying to find a name for our wonderful, beautiful firstborn son named Andwele, which is Swahili for God Brought Me. And, you know, I wrote as a poem just on a plane, and a flight attendant said, you know, that'd be a great book. And I was like, I don't know anything about writing books, but we got Google. So to all the young people out there, if you got Google, if you got internet, you have access. And you can be the change that you want to see. We didn't see very many books with people with faces of color. And if anyone wants to pick it up, it's at a different book list, so you can pick that up. But I decided to be the change I wanted to see, and I created the book. I do a lot of different things, and what I want to share with you guys tonight, I think there's a poem that I written way back in 2010 in UK during their Black History Month. As I was on my way to a radio station in Manchester, they asked me to read a hypothetical article entitled, "What if there were no Black people? What if Black people did not exist?" And so I decided to, instead of writing just talking about it, jotting down a few notes, I decided to write an actual poem. This poem later went on to be used by the Southern Poverty Law Center in the US as part of the alternative learning curriculum. And I'm talking too fast, I'm sorry. I'll slow it down for the interpreter. Ultimately, my point is, you just never know who's listening. You never know who will gravitate towards your work, and you never know what's around the corner. So I want to share this with you. And I'm also a beatboxer and DJ and do a lot of different things. So I'm going to try and do something here special for you guys that I normally do live on stage, but I'm going to do it here and create a backdrop for the beat that I'm going to present, for the poem that I'm going to present to you, entitled "What If There Were No Black People." So basically, I was on a bus in the UK at 4 a.m. and I could hear my heartbeat. My heartbeat sounded kind of like this. Right? And I could hear the sounds of the tires skipping on the ground from the bus. It sounded like this. I could hear my breathing. My breathing sounded like this. Real smooth. The poem's entitled, "What If There Were No Black People?" If there were no Black people, what would happen to soul? We'd have R&B with no beat, and that's blues for y'all. And if we didn't have the blues nor the swing of jazz, the world would never know what it missed and could have had. The sounds of Ella, Teddy Penn on tracks with Mr. Coltrane, James Brown, and the opportunity to let freedom reign. Martin Luther King had a dream. We found the word equal. Minus the word blacks, the world lacks that new sequel. Add the word facts, countless stacks. History acts as though we were never here, though we are the word impact. Imhotep, my soul and minds, for we were once kings. Building pyramids after Sphinx was traffic lights for traveling. I know why the caged bird sings. Maya Angelou wrote such things. Our contributions to the future are beyond breathtaking. Let the world know if it was never blessed with the darker tones, melodies wouldn't be the same. And neither with the soul, 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 with the soul. Check it out. With the soul, 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 So much love. Thank you guys for taking me in. Black Lives Matter. Much love. Bless you all for being here tonight. Love yourself, love each other, and peace. Right now, I'd like to introduce the next artist coming up as part of the adult teacher parent librarian section 18 plus. I'm going to pronounce the name as best I can. And Obako is a storyteller, musician, and educator with 2 recent releases. I believe it's in French, À tous les enfants de la terre, which means full-length album, and J'aime mon, which means J'aime mon école, sorry, an album for children. So please give it up for Obako. Much love.
So I'm very happy to be here, and I just want to say, for all the things that going on around the Black people, Black Lives Matter, I just want to say, now to all my Black brothers and sisters around the world, the Black brothers and sisters in Brazil, in Argentina, in Haiti, in India, in Africa, I just want to say, we all put in our heart that God loves each one of us, of you. If God didn't love us, we should not be here today, because they already try everything to finish us. But they always forget that as a Black people, we are exactly like mushrooms. We just grow and grow and grow, and it have to be like that. I want to give thanks to all the white, because first of all, when they say white, this is white paper, this is white. To all my white brothers and sisters, all my brothers and sisters from Asia, all over the world that stand up for the Black Lives Matter. We all on this planet Earth, we are children of God. We all here, we are children of God. And we have to start to love each other. After all, the colonial master have to understand now that the time is over. You lie too much to your children. When you look out here, the protest, who is there? It's all children around the world. So you should understand that your time is over. The new generation is growing up, and now it's different life. We have to live, we have to be united, and that's what we're trying to tell you. You have to understand it and stop it. My Black brothers and sisters, the last message is to all the politicians in Africa, because most of you are not even African. You have nationality of French, of British. You are not even ruling the people that you know. African politicians, you, all of you have to stand up when something like that happens in the state of all over or anywhere else. So my brother and sister, thank you. I'm very honored to be part of this. Make this message that we send it out, go cross and cross. So for the next, I would like to tell you that I'm happy to introduce Rabia Coca. She's a teacher, a librarian in the Toronto School. She is an advocate of diverse children literature. Thank you so much, and thanks again. Rabia, welcome.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing program so far. I'm going to be sharing some tips on selecting resources from an anti-racist and specifically an anti-Black racism focus. So one of the first things that I do when I'm doing this work is to center myself. I know that I'm not Black, so I really want to think critically about my identities and how this impacts what I notice, what I might miss, what I might omit and gloss over. Knowing who I am and what I'm bringing to this work helps me remember to always have a critical eye. I know that as a teacher librarian, I have the positional power and privilege to curate resources that my students will see, will take out, what will be displayed, and what will be engaged with. So I know that I have a really great platform, and I really want to think about how I can be an ally to the Black community. What can I do that's going to disrupt stereotypes and racism? So some of the things when I'm selecting resources is to really bring forward and center stories that show Black characters as central characters in dynamic and diverse settings and dynamic and diverse experiences. I really want to seek out those stories that show Black characters in universal experiences like teamwork, friendship, family. I know that this disrupts the single story that's often associated stereotypically with the Black community of victimhood, pity, enslavement. I really want to use my sphere of influence and bring in those new stories that are really going to expand the narrative of how we see Black characters and Black people. By bringing in these amazing, universal, beautiful stories that show a diversity of Black experience, really work to restore humanity in our Black characters and Black people, which the single story steals and robs. So I really want to create a place where I'm bringing forward stories that are beautiful, dynamic, diverse. I really want to center Black authors and Black illustrators, because I know that I need to ask questions of who is telling the story, how is it being told, which perspective is centered, which perspective is missing. These types of questions really help me seek out Black illustrators and Black authors and really center them in my space. If I have the opportunity, I really want to look at the illustrations in the book. I want to think about where are Black characters represented? How are they represented? Are they only represented as tokenistic side characters, or are they showing as complete, diverse, dynamic characters? Where are they represented? Are they represented in homes? Are they represented in all parts of the world, in all parts of settings? All those types of things help me really expand the stories, and really in doing so disrupt those very harmful single stories. These are some strategies that I've been using to build an anti-Black racism book list at my school, and I hope that they were really helpful for you. I'm going to be passing it on to, and I'm really excited to introduce our next speaker, Robin Stevenson, who's joining us from BC, and she is the author of Kid Activist. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here and joining from the West Coast. I would just like to acknowledge that Victoria sits on the unceded territory of the Lekwungen people, and that I'm very grateful to live and work on this land. I believe that Black lives matter. I believe that systemic racism is a problem in Canada. And I believe that we need to give kids a lot more credit for being able to engage in tough conversations. Black kids, Indigenous kids, and children of color experience racism. White children have the privilege of learning about racism rather than experiencing it. They do not need to be, and they should not be, protected from that learning. Black people have been fighting for justice for many, many years. Kids and all of us need to learn about that history, because only by understanding history can we understand the present. Learning about the horrific injustices and the hard-fought victories of the past can help empower young people to take action against the continuing injustices in our present time. It can also offer hope, and activism is often rooted in hope, in a belief that a better world is possible. Our kids need to know that they can choose to take part in the fight to achieve that. I was invited to speak tonight as a white woman who strives to act as an ally. So I wanted to say a few things specifically to the white people who are listening. White supremacy is a system that was created by white people, and one that continues to be upheld by white people. It's a system from which white people benefit from unearned privilege. So as white people, we have a responsibility to fight against racism and to act to disrupt and dismantle white supremacy. And we have a responsibility as adults who care about children to make this world safer and more equal and more just for Black and Indigenous and children of color. So we need to listen to what Black people are telling us about their experiences of racism in Canada. We need to believe them, and we need to act urgently as if lives depend on it, because in fact, lives do depend on it. Adults in Canada have grown up in a society steeped in racism. Far too often, Canadians deny this, wanting to see racism as something that happens elsewhere, and to believe that Canada is somehow different and better. Most of us were taught a version of history that obscures Canada's racist past and highlights the things that make us look good. So we have much to learn and to unlearn. To challenge systemic racism, white people need to be actively anti-racist. Racist attitudes can be easy to call out, but systemic racism can be sneaky and harder to see, especially if you are white and benefit from it rather than being hurt by it. Be careful of your assumptions. This system was built for you. Believe Black people when they speak about how systemic racism impacts their lives. Calling ourselves allies is in itself meaningless. Ally is not an identity. I'm not always an ally. In fact, I often fail to see things that I should have seen. And I mess up in various ways, and I will no doubt continue to make mistakes. But allying as a verb is about the actions that we can take to stand in solidarity with Black people. Allying is what you do and keep doing day after day, year after year. So here are some actions we can all take. Educate yourself, read, listen to Black people, learn from the people who have been doing this work for years. Do the work necessary to understand your own privilege and to see the impacts of systemic racism. Use your voice, take a stand against racism, talk to your kids and your students about racism, show them how to speak up, tell them that their voices matter. Use your privilege. If speaking up feels scary, and it can do, think about who your silence protects and think about at whose expense that silence comes. Donate money, support Black-led organizations working against racism. Elevate Black voices, support your Black friends, colleagues, and students. Make sure that Black people are represented in the books on your shelves. Buy books by Black authors. Mentor young Black people who work in your field. Hire Black people. Pay Black people for their skills and expertise. Think about what you can do in your life and make your own list and take action. Take action because it is our responsibility to do so, because Black lives depend on it. Thank you. And now let me introduce Sean Lyberg, author, coach, and owner of the Knowledge Bookstore in Brampton. Thank you.
My people, the night is beautiful. So the faces of my people. My people, the stars are beautiful. So the eyes of my people. Beautiful also is the sun. Beautiful also are the souls of my people. Those are the words of Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes was someone that influenced me a great deal. I discovered him in my last year of high school, and he literally changed my life. I didn't know any Black authors before that time. I was always an avid reader, but I was reading books by European writers about Europeans. After discovering Langston Hughes, that all changed for me. It was the first step into discovering many, many, many more authors and reading hundreds and hundreds of books that celebrated the beauty, the culture, the history of African people. Now, there are some people that I need to give credit to. I discovered Langston Hughes because I had a teacher, and she was a European lady that was married to a Black man. And she pulled me aside and she gave me the name of 4 authors: Langston Hughes, Alice Walker, Toni Morrison, and James Baldwin. And she told me to research them at the library and to choose one to do my presentation and paper on. She didn't give me a choice. And I was happy that she didn't, because once I read the works of Langston Hughes, and I read his plays, his poetry, his novels, biographies, and I couldn't have done that without the help of a librarian, which is funny because this section is dedicated to parents, teachers, and librarians. And as I just mentioned, there was a teacher that played a pivotal role in pushing me in the right direction. Black history wasn't a part of the curriculum. She didn't have to do that, but she knew I was an avid reader, and she made a decision to push me in the right direction. And I give thanks to Mrs. Morton for that. I did the work after that. She pointed me in the right direction. I did the work. At the library, the librarian, there was a librarian, and she helped me to find the books because the books were spread all over. And then she got some of the other titles that I couldn't get my hands on. She got them for me over the time period. So I give thanks to that librarian. Now, parents, you play such a pivotal role. You are the foundation of everything, the beginning. My foundation was set by my parents back in the Caribbean. I came to this country in 1981. But before that time, my parents, they emphasized to myself and my siblings that we were coming to Canada for education. They emphasized that. And we already had a great start in education in the islands. There was never a summer that I wasn't in vacation Bible school or doing some kind of extra tutorial. That was the life. So my parents gave me the foundation that I needed and the understanding of how important an education was. Again, I had to do the work. I did the work. My parents didn't give me the foundation in Black history, but they gave me the foundation that I needed in education to get ahead. I discovered that I needed to know myself to get ahead. Because if I didn't know myself, then no matter how far ahead I got, I would still be behind. And Carter G. Woodson has also reinforced that in the miseducation of the Negro. So tonight, my message is simple. Each of the educators, and the parent is the primary educator. I put that responsibility fully on Black parents. You set the foundation for your children. It is your responsibility. By the time they get to a teacher, they should have a strong foundation. You have them for their first 5 years, which is pivotal. You should start teaching them at that point in time. As a matter of fact, you start teaching at the point of conception. It is your responsibility, parents. My people, it is your responsibility to teach those beautiful babies from the time they enter this realm. And to the educators, Mrs. Morton, like I said, was a great example of a teacher who went beyond what was required of her. She encouraged, she chose, she looked at what my strength was, and she pointed me in the right direction. And as I said, that wasn't part of the curriculum, but she did it, and I got the education that I needed that went beyond the Peel Board education at that point in time. Librarians, you can have the resources that is necessary for young Black people to learn about themselves and to read about themselves. Now, I know we're running a bit late, so I'm just gonna finish this up, but I just wanna say that it's important for young Black children to know thyself, love thyself. And when I say know thyself, I mean know your culture, know your history, and know yourself, your internal self. And there's a lot of guides on the way to their journey into adulthood. So for those who are the guides, take your roles, your responsibilities seriously, and bless those children. My people, the night is beautiful. I am because we are, therefore I am. I will now introduce J.L. Richardson. She is an author and she is a columnist with the CBC's and she is the artistic director for the Festival of Literary Diversity. See, I'm accustomed to just saying fall, right? I'm accustomed to just saying fall. So pardon me, Joel, but take it away.
Thanks, Sean. So nice to be here with you. We live just around the corner from Knowledge Bookstore in Brampton, so it's a real pleasure to be passed along this way. I just want to share a few things. I started the Festival of Literary Diversity 5 years ago. In 2016, we launched it to really celebrate and honor authors from marginalized communities, authors who were underrepresented in Canadian publishing. And last year, we extended that program to include a fall festival. Fold is held in May. And we started a fall festival for kids called Fold Kids Book Fest. And we'll be doing it again this year, October 3rd and 4th. It will be virtual, but it's an opportunity for parents, for educators, in both cases, to find authors who are underrepresented in Canadian literature. And I want to talk about that for a moment. I want to talk about some of the things that I really want to encourage those of you who are parents and who are educators to be doing going forward. First of all, I want to say to Black teachers and Black parents in particular, you're loved. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. I know it's been an exhausting few weeks on many fronts, and I just wish you rest and peace and some time to just pause and recollect and to gather with the people that you love. For those of you who are not Black, I want to offer you some guidance, some encouragement, some thoughts. I want you to look at your bookshelves and I want you to analyze what's there. I want you to see who's represented and who's not, and to ask yourself a question we ask ourselves at Fold all the time: who's missing? Who are the stories that are missing? We've talked a lot about Black authors, and there's been a lot of mention of some really great American authors, but I really, really want to encourage you to think about Black Canadian authors and to think about the context of diverse books, not just about seeing different colors in the picture books or seeing different colors on the cover of books, but also seeing authors on the jacket who are Black Canadians. I think a form of anti-Black racism is the underrepresentation of Black authors in Canadian publishing. You may not know this, but many of the publishers in Canada are funded by our arts councils. And so we as taxpayers are paying for that. And we know, teachers know, kids know, books change lives. When you read books, they are magic and they take you places. And those of us, I know as a Black woman, when I read a book by a Black author, it changed my life. And when we talk about that, when we know that that happens and we limit the number of books by Black authors for Black kids, we are doing a disservice to them. So it's really, really important that you stock your shelves with books by Black Canadian authors, and that when you see a shortage, which you will, you challenge those in publishing, you challenge those places to get more titles that represent more voices. We need Black stories that are not just Black history. I wrote The Stone Thrower. It was about my father's life. Nadia has a number of great history books. You've heard from, there's a number of different books also like Africville by Shante Grant. I want to encourage publishers to not only be thinking about history when it comes to Black voices, but to be thinking about magic, to be thinking about beauty, to be thinking about imagination, to be thinking about dreams. And so we really need to push this conversation beyond just representation in color and in covers, but thinking about the authors, thinking about the stories, thinking about Black Canadian voices. And so I really want to push that dialogue, push that conversation. I want you to start by looking at your own shelf and really opening them up and asking yourselves who wrote this, and really thinking about this carefully. That's pretty much all I want to say today. I want to give a shout out to all the authors who've been here. I want to say thank you to Nadia as well before I go. And I'm going to pass it on to a publisher who published my children's book, Groundwood Books, who is being represented by Karen Lee. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jael. Thanks, Jael. Thanks very much. I hope everybody can hear me. So my parents immigrated to Canada from Hong Kong in the 1970s, and I grew up next to the Tsuut'ina Reserve Nation in Southwest Calgary. But as a child, my preoccupation was with whiteness. I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, and as such was always very aware of my difference. And for a long time, that made me complacent. Of course, I wasn't racist. I myself was other. But as so many people have pointed out, it's not enough to be anti-racist. Or it's not enough to be not racist, I should say. We must be actively anti-racist. And for many non-Black people of color, that also means actively recognizing the anti-Blackness in our own communities, which is what I wanted to talk about tonight. For many of us, that means unlearning lessons taught within our own families, lessons like shadeism or colorism, narratives like those of the model minority Asian or the hardworking immigrant. There are so many ways that we all end up internalizing white supremacy, even if we ourselves are not white. I'm not saying that the answers to ending anti-Black racism or systemic discrimination can simply be found at home, but as a publisher of children's books, I must believe, as we all do tonight, that there are many resources out there about talking to your kids about race, and it shouldn't just be racialized parents who are doing it. For example, it's okay to notice and describe people's physical characteristics. It's actually kind of weird if you pretend you don't. Babies as old I think I might be skipping out. People of color. Let's be vocal against the praising of lighter skin, of bigger eyes, of narrower noses. Push back, even if it's your grandma or your auntie saying it. It's awkward, but practicing anti-racism means having uncomfortable conversations. So you might as well practice with people who love you anyway, because the children are listening. By age 4, kids can internalize racial bias. And let's talk about books. Jael was talking about books. I love talking about books. Non-Black people of color, seek out books written by authors in your communities. Celebrate your culture, but also examine if all the other books in your child's collection default to white. Challenge yourself to populate your child's life and imaginary life with Black characters and Black role models. It's urgent. By 12, kids become set in their beliefs, and it's easier to learn something than to unlearn it. You just heard JL speak. Definitely read The Stone Thrower, the story she wrote about her father, Chuck Ely, the first Black quarterback to win the Grey Cup. Did you know that Oscar Peterson, one of the most popular jazz pianists in the world, grew up in Montreal? Read about it in Oscar Lives Next Door by Bonnie Farmer. Have you heard about Louise Bennett Coverley, a pioneering Jamaican poet who popularized patois and then lived out her years? Read about it in Nadia, A Little Miss Lou. If your kids are older, maybe you think they'll love Harry Potter. They'll probably love Harry Potter. But before that, hand them Christina Swinburne-Batts' A Wish in the Dark. Hand them Cherie Desmoulins's The Marrow Thieves. Hand them Nnedi Okorafor's A Cat, a Witch series. Trust me, Harry Potter will still be there when they're done. People say that everything you need to know, you probably raise themselves up by pushing other people down. So to those of us who may not be Black, but who do identify as people of color and as allies, let's not accept this false deal of a thimble of borrowed white privilege in exchange for our silence or our complicity against Black communities. Ask the people in your community, do you love your family? Do you wish for the highest levels of education and success for your children? Do you want to protect your loved ones from racism and violence? Then we all need to speak up and educate ourselves and act, because there's no guarantee that any of these things in our lives matter unless Black lives matter. Thanks for your time. I'm sending this over to Aïcha Sadou, an award-winning storyteller. You met her at the top. Award-winning storyteller, children's author, co-owner of the excellent independent bookstore, A Different Book List. Thanks.
You're turning on my video. Aïcha, you're up. Oh, there you are.
I have never met a Black person who didn't think that words have power. I have never met a Black parent who didn't want to take their children to another level. I have never met a Black child who didn't like books, but I have met Black children who were in search of their looks. What I do know, that all Black children are gifted and will open presents that show Black Lives Matter. Big up, hashtag Kidlit for Black Lives Canada. Big up Nadia Hohn and all the authors and illustrators on this Zoom program. And now, the woman who has worked the hardest with the mostest and came with game and created such a wonderful menu. And now she is part of the final chapter. I give you Nadia Hohn.
Sorry, my video's disabled. I'm trying to turn the video on. I'm so tired. We all are. We're brought into the circle again, where the pain bears down, and we collectively grieve after having witnessed the death of this man, George Floyd, Philando Castile, and there are so many others. This child on the pavement, we hear him cry out as onlookers are helpless, as a single person seizes the power from everyone else in the moment, and tries to act as the creator, without a trial in court, without questions in a police station, without a proper jury, without bias, without the dignity of it all. In the face of hate, George Floyd had no chance. Breonna Taylor had no chance. Ahmaud Arbery had no chance. And there are countless others. And I know I'm saying some American names, we have them here in Canada too. I pray for a reconciliation to take place as we examine ourselves, our hearts, our minds, our power structures, our communities, our world. Let us be guided by a promise for justice, for truth to reveal itself, for us to fight for what is right. Let us, as humans, remember our humanity, our dignity, our sameness, and know that sometimes there is a messy tearing down of walls, power structures, peeling off the bandages, rinsing out our wounds, and eventually healing. Help us to feel our brothers' cries for pain and justice, meeting the needs of those who lack, and building up again. Help us to find peace and strength as we do this necessary work at this time. So that was excerpt from a prayer that I wrote. It's been a hard last couple months. It has been. And this project, this event came together fairly quickly, within a weekish. And I'm a full-time teacher as well as an author. So it's the busiest time of the year. And most teachers will tell you that. It's report card time and wrapping up the year. But something was keeping me up late and sometimes keeping me up for a whole night. And I couldn't get that image, that disturbing image out of my head. What did we just witness? And it's not the first, and sadly, it hasn't been the last. But I feel like something's happening. And I'm so glad that so many of you came out to see this tonight, to take in what you can, to learn, to grieve, to breathe, to exhale, to feel empowered, and to get called to action, to know that you can do something. There's always something you can do. I want to take this time to thank our audiences, wherever you are, whether you're in the US or across Canada or some different countries. Thank you so much for coming out and seeing what we do here. I also want to take this time to thank the guests who gave so generously of their time with, not like I said, within a week or so, this came together. So, and we had New York Times bestselling authors. We have authors who have multiple roles as parents and community activists and all kinds of things. So I want to thank the guests for coming and sharing with us why it's important to have these books. Why is it important that we learn what we can do? So another incident like what we've witnessed over the last few weeks, they don't continue to happen. I want to take this opportunity also to thank so much sponsors. And I have to say, this came together so quickly. Had it more time, it would probably looked a little bit different or had more different things, but I also feel who needed to be at the table was there. So I want to thank Aita Sadu, who's been supportive of my career from the very beginning, and a different booklist and sojourner, Vicente, who is actually Aita's daughter and has been doing the tech today. I understand some of you couldn't get in. I know that there was a technical issue, but thanks to Sojourner's technical prowess, we have a live stream on Facebook, okay. Once the video is posted, we'll place the contacts for the presenters you saw today, how you can get their social media handles, as well as their websites, and find out what books they have. We didn't hear all the books today. We wouldn't have had enough time, but we definitely want to look into supporting Canadian authors. We love your American books, we do, but we have an industry here that needs lifeblood. It's a fairly young industry, and we need to support it so it grows and it flourishes, especially with diverse authors. So yeah, so we'll provide those resources. I also know there are a number of educators who are watching, librarians, and probably would love to see some book lists. I think that's going to take some time. So yeah, as the time comes, we'll see what we can do and see what grows from this. But we love to hear back from you. So please let us know what you thought about this and take this conversation further. So thank you so much to a different book list. And I also want to thank Groundwood Books. I had the pleasure of working with Karen Lee, who's a publisher now at Groundwood. And she was actually my editor for A Little Miss Lou, which was published with Owl Kids. A Little Miss Lou, how Jamaican poet Louise Bennett Coverley found her voice. And when I shared the idea of this event, they were very eager to be involved, because Groundwood has a tradition of publishing diverse authors. Jael Richardson's book is published with Groundwood. Aita Saidu's book is published with Groundwood. I have a book published with Groundwood. I think there may have been even one more person on our panel as well. So they were really interested. They provided support around publicity for this event, getting the press releases out, and it's been really great to have that support. So I want to thank both of them. And I also want to thank The Fold for sponsoring our ASL interpreters. We had the pleasure of having Joanne Martin and Anissa. I want to get Anissa's last name. But I want to thank both of them for being here. And as you can see, this conversation is a long, necessary one, and we went over a little bit. But I want to just thank Anissa as well. And for some reason, I put your name as Martin in my WhatsApp, so I apologize, Anissa. So thank you both for staying around, for doing sign language, again, creating accessibility with this platform. And I also want to just say, oh yeah, I did a poem by called Hey Black Child, and the author of that poem is, or the poet is Useni Eugenie Perkins. I had a little bit of jitter, so I totally forgot, but Useni Eugenie Perkins did that poem. All right, so I want to thank all of you once again so much for coming. Please take this further, have the courageous conversations we need to have within our own communities, and start to explore ways that we can tackle this thing called racism, anti-Black racism, racial oppression. We have to work together and do our part. So thank you, and have a good evening.